I'm excited. You excited? You excited? I don't know. I always get the jitters before we start rolling.
I never really know how to start.
Yeah, yo, we never get used to this. But what's going on, beautiful people? We back with another one, and then you're gonna see another one and another one. But we here. We're episode. We never know the number, but nonetheless, you're gonna see the number as always. But we're gonna get that part down though. Just understand.
We'll figure it out.
But we're here to bring you guys today to talk about something that is very prevalent in our era of living, and so this is something that I feel that everybody can relate to.
Wait, you getting right into it? You're not gonna say how? Like,
what? We never done that before. What? Like,
I don't know.
What? You want like a hello, everybody gets a problem.
We're singing.
Everybody just gets their own introduction.
High five, like yeah, man.
Nonetheless, man. As you already know, the whole team we here. YellowTalks with the fam.
You know the vibe, man.
You know what I'm saying? We're back here with another one. And so, like I was saying, everybody, and so, talk of the day for this episode is stop letting the world tell you who you have to be.
Okay.
Let that sit with you real quick. All right, so boom. The reason why I chose this is because this is something that Meech and Yemi and I, we talk about a lot. Like, in terms of just different topics that surround this bigger topic, right? Because the world is constantly, and when I say the world, we're talking about your friend circles, we're talking about media, we're talking about your jobs. Like, everybody's getting you to, like, they're exposing you to something different, and kind of sort of putting you in boxes. And more so you see it in media when we're referring to this, like, you got people telling you what you have to be by a certain age. You got certain people telling you what it is to be your gender role. You got certain people telling you what it is to be your ethnicity or your culture, things of that nature. And so it kind of gets a little bit overwhelming in a way, and it pressures you, But we're going to get into it, though. But I just wanted to give a little bit backstory context as to these things. And so it leads me to, like, my first question that I want to ask everybody in the space is, who's most influential? You or the things you're exposed to?
Okay. When you first proposed this, it made me think a little bit, cause I like people tend to think I have a big voice overall, like opinions and things like that in my friend group or wherever I'm at, and I'm actually a very gullible person, so it was a tricky question to kind of get an understanding of, but I'll say to an extent it's a little bit of both, cause the first thing I have to realize is I'm not a perfect human being. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. So I'm always seeking to learn from other people or other things. And if you're talking about things that I'm exposed to, now it's a lot more these days. Before, just people that you talk to on a regular basis, your friends or people you see at work, people that you see on a daily basis. What are they doing? Those things influence you. But now there's a lot of things on social media. And I think one thing I'm very, very proud of myself for is that I don't let those things that I'm exposed to on social media drive or dictate what it is that I do for myself, right? Because people on social media don't know who the hell I am, right? The things that I see, the only thing that influences me on social media for the most part is photography, right? Those are the only things that I would say I take from others. But like in terms of how to be a human being, how to live my life, and how to do things myself, I'm very good at understanding where I'm at, understanding the kind of person I am. There's this saying, in a Nigerian household, I think I've probably said this before, but it's said in Yoruba. Man, it would be interesting if I say it. If I say it in Yoruba, so my mom is always like, "Ranti omoto je," meaning like remember whose son you are, right? And that translates to like, no matter what happens, right? Doesn't matter what the next man is doing or what the next person is doing. Doesn't matter, if people are, getting married at this age or somebody's, family's trying to accept you. Like, no matter what any of that stuff happens, like, remember who raised you, what your purpose is, what you're looking for out of life, and it's kind of like a phrase that keeps you on a path. Like, keep that path in mind, keep that focus, and most of all, if you always remember whose kid you are, where you're from, and things that are important about you and to you, you're always gonna be able to just stick to who you are. I don't think I'm the most influential person ever at all. I just think I do a good job at understanding who I am and picking and choosing the things that I get influenced by.
I gotta say, everybody, that was probably the most deep thought I've ever heard this man really go into. He's not a ranter. He's not. So that is very interesting.
Need to be doing that randomly.
That was deep.
I mean, then again,
if you know anything about the man,
if I'm not gonna be we're not gonna be up here, just BSing. Like the best I could do is be honest with people on how my mindset works in a space like this. So yeah, for the most part, they're gonna hear things. I'm gonna say things. I think we're all gonna say things that we haven't heard the other person speak about or talk about.
But you're a more simplistic man, so that's why I just thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like you keep it very short. So that was a very that was like a me moment.
Unless you coming at somebody, you're very, very simple.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what about you though? Like, I always like to get your opinion on these kind of things.
So for me, right, I said myself. So when I came up with the question, I was in deep thought because I was just like, who is the most influential? Like, is it what you allow yourself to be susceptible to? So like what you expose yourself to, or is it me? And so instinctively I said myself because it's what I allow. You know what I'm saying? And I always try and keep that mindset. Like, you are what you allow.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you allow people to overstep your boundaries, you have nobody else but to blame but yourself. When you start thinking in a certain mindset, you have nobody else to blame but yourself. You can point fingers and say, well, I was exposed to this and I watched that and I was exposed to this, but at the end of the day, it's like, you got to be able to compartmentalize, like, okay, that's that information, or that was that experience, and that was that time. Yes, it may have left a certain imprint on me or made me feel a certain kind of way, but at the end of the day, I got to be able to reflect and kind of like decide for myself, is this applicable to me?
Okay.
So that's why I was like, for me, I was like, I'm the most influential. Okay. Not influential in the sense of that I'm impactful or inspiring to others, but I'm the biggest influence to myself. Nobody else influences me but me.
Right. And I'll say this before we even move on to the next question. The whole point of this episode is to like just kind of like describe to people where some of their influences might be coming from. And I think even with these questions, because I heard some of them earlier, we're trying to dive deep into ourselves to figure out what's influencing us and how we're taking that. We're not perfect, so we want to just share that understanding of ourselves with y'all, so you guys could then take it upon yourself to think further about those things, think further about those questions, and then think about how our end goal is going to help you, or at least some of the advices that we're going to give you guys is going to help you navigate how to not be too influenced by other things from the outside. But we want y'all to think about it on a deeper level, because there's a lot of things that we don't understand even about ourselves. And I think with these questions, you guys are going to get to understand some of those things, or at least be honest with yourself to understand those things, to then drive the end goal. Mish got something to say, y'all.
Since we all having a story time and whatnot, like, after listening to y'all talk and just expressing off of who y'all are or how y'all came up, it kind of made me think about myself personally, where growing up, when I was younger, I was very much influenced, especially by the people that I was around, as well as more of trying to find the in crowd, trying to be around those people, or just have those friends in general. And with me being around them, it led me to like bad situations where it's like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, this ain't me. And then from dealing with those situations, I grew up and became the adult I am now, where it's like, I ain't gonna hold you, I'm good off this. I'm gonna make my own decisions in a sense, you feel me? But I can now reflect on my past life, where it's like, I really was that kid who was like, yo, what's up, what we gonna do? What's the next move? You know what I mean? What trouble we get into, you feel me? Yeah, very influenced, heavily influenced. And I can't deny that.
Go.
Listen, you grew, man.
So that leads into the next thing. Like, what makes life so hard now when it comes to identity versus back then?
I'll always say is the circulation of information, how quickly everything is in your face now. Like back then, I mean, you know, it's the regular stuff, right? There was not the media wasn't that big. You know, there were times when to be able to get any news, you had to, you know, word of mouth.
That's what I was saying.
And newspapers were taking weeks to get to like the end of the other side of the continent and things like that. So like, you know, back then you didn't have all these things in front of you in your face. Now, you know, you got people in classrooms, you know, using ski to get their students' attention. Like, you know, like back then, you know, the news wasn't traveling like that. We weren't seeing it happen like that. So like, and you know, all those things, just that exposure, right? That exposure is just in everybody's faces. So back then we didn't have that. So it was easier. I would say it probably was easier to be yourself back then. That's probably was because, you know, we not over here relying on celebrity lifestyle. Like not everyone's trying to get the same wing tattoo under their boob, or you know things like that. But now that all those things are just right in front of you, and also, you know, those people are rich and they live a certain kind of lifestyle. And funny enough, I hear most celebrities don't even like their lifestyle, but the way it looks to us regular consumers, it looks fun, it looks lit, it looks cool. Yeah. So, you know, back then that wasn't a problem. I'm only 27. You know, I don't really know much about back then, but I could imagine how, you know, it kind of plays out. So yeah, I think just the circulation of information is just too much. It's just too much.
I was gonna say Meech hit the nail on the head, at least for me, where it was like everything was word of mouth. So like growing up for me, I really more so just heard everything from everybody, like going to school and stuff like that. And it wasn't until maybe like middle school or like late in middle late in middle school, I got hip to like AOL and like AIM and like MySpace. But even then, I wasn't on it like that. You know, I wasn't as like hip to wanting to be on all this.
Well, I was heavily influenced. I'm sorry to cut you off. But I was
That
was my thing. That was that thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like as a kid, I enjoyed being outside, you know. So I liked playing sports. I liked talking with my peoples outside. So
it made you value those times and those things a little bit more. Like I'm thinking about it now. Back in 7th grade when everyone had AIM, bro, I didn't even have a phone. So like, and I could see how things changed back then, because before I used to want to get out of school to go to the park. And then it got to a certain point, everybody had a BlackBerry, everybody had a Sidekick, right? Yeah. So now I was looking forward to get out of school to go home on the computer to talk to these people, you know, online. Like, this is the same cats I just left the vicinity from. Like, we just spent like 8 hours in school, and instead of going out to go play with my friends in the park, which I rarely did, but you know, I found myself excited to get home.
It was like this urge to want to keep up.
Yeah.
Stay with the trend. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like
we're influenced.
So we were like always constantly influenced. But I would say for me back then, I would say I started to really formalize my identity back then versus like what I see a lot of kids struggling with now. Because they see so much of like, put it to you this way, a lot of kids are learning off an iPad now than when we were in classrooms. And we didn't really have that, you know. So and then they're seeing the TikToks, they're seeing the streamers, they're seeing all these types of stuff. And so it's like, how do I formulate myself when I see what it is to be these types of individuals? And I'm only 12, so now I want to be like that, and I'm 12, so I'm doing all these types of dances, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know, versus understanding, and once again, this is just my perspective, understanding what it is to like be your age and formulate your identity from that perspective versus trying to
be your age,
kick yourself like light years ahead.
I'm telling you, man, because we don't even have to get
that. That's a whole nother bag. That's a whole nother bag.
And that's the thing too. Like, you know, people nowadays just like that celebrity lifestyle. They just growing up too quick. But get into the next stuff.
Yeah. I got you. So I got another one for y'all. Do you think if people could take what they dish, that the world would move a lot smoother?
I mean, the easy answer is yes. You know, if people are more susceptible to the critique or criticism that they're dishing out, things will happen a lot better.
And now let me give you a little backstory, right?
Go for it.
Because backstory of where this came from for me was that I think everybody's quick to have an opinion, but not everybody's very quick to be a listener and listen to understand, not listen to talk.
Okay.
You know, and so when people immediately like hear something that's a little bit triggering or a bit more harming to their ego after they just finished telling somebody about themselves, or yeah, like all of a sudden now it's a shutdown. Now it's now it's a problem. You know, but you were very adamant about telling this person about themselves, whether that be on a media platform or in person. But now when somebody gives it back to you, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And you're canceled.
Yeah. No. Go ahead,
you hit the
yeah, the description was pretty straightforward. Yeah, and that's why I said the simple answer to that is just a plain yes, because a lot of people don't realize when they're like, and that's, I think even I had to learn that myself in a sense, and I think I don't know. Once again, I'm only gonna say what's true to me, and I've shared this story with a lot of my friends already, of when I realized I was that person that was dishing it out like a whole bunch of criticism and a whole bunch of judgmental thoughts and things like that. I'm not directly saying it to people, but I was doing it, and I'll try to keep it real short. The time that I had, a significant change in mindset was 10th grade, around 10th grade, 11th grade. I get on the train. I ride, actually 11th grade, somewhere around there. I get on the train every day, on the A train every day. People getting on and off. People are getting on, I'm looking at their shoes. I'm looking at what they're wearing, how they're dressed. And the moment they step on that train, I'm instantly judging them based on just the way they look. I'm like, oh man, he got some New Balances on. He's not cool. His Jordans are busted up. He probably, took that from one of them wires. He probably stole them joints. So like, and that's me passing judgment on people that I don't even know nothing about. And then one day I was on the train and I looked at myself up, from head to toe, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm not wearing no expensive Jordans. Like, I'm not wearing, any designers or any name brands or anything like that. Quite frankly, I'm more close to a bum than, in my mindset, I'm more close to dressing like a bum than, what I'm trying to compare these other people to. And then it hit me like, what are people thinking about me if they're doing what I'm doing to them? And when they look at me, what are they thinking? Are they looking at me like, man, this kid is a bum? Like, he got some no-name Jordans on. He got some pants that he probably got from Payless or something like that. Like, so then that kind of hit me in a different way when I was able to put myself in their perspective. And I was like, in all reality, I wouldn't be able to take the criticism that I'm giving to those people.
And I was about to say, it even goes even deeper, right? Like, it's very quick towards just, you got to be better about not taking things personal.
Yeah.
But,
I can't lie, like, I agree with everything that you said, but how I've taken it is more of like in a relationship standpoint, in a sense. Like, me, I'm not going to deny it. I'm very straightforward about it. I know who I am as a person now. I'm very blunt. And with me being super blunt, it comes off as me being aggressive or me just being rude. And it's not that I'm being rude, but I'm being more of a person who's just very straightforward about the situation. I'd rather tell you for what it is. And don't get me wrong, like the situation I deal with now when Kim's in a relationship, like she'll tell me about myself. She'll tell me like, she'll tell me like, like you got to change this up, or you got to do this, you got to do that, or I wish that you would adjust this when it comes to being around me more. I'm like, all right, fine. But when the roles are reversed and I say something, then it's like you're hurting my feelings. You're being mean. like this is an issue. Is this how you always felt? And it's like, no, it's just me accepting the fact that I need to make adjustments for me coming when I'm around my significant other, and me wanting to reciprocate and explain to you like, look, if we being blunt and honest with each other, this is the things that you need to adjust. I'm not trying to come off as an asshole or a dick.
he's a repeat offender.
Next question.
He's a repeat offender.
We get what you're saying though.
But it kind of ties in with what whatchamacallit, we were all having a conversation about before. Like, let's just say, if a man wasn't doing that, would he be considered sassy for not being as very firm or like straightforward, or I don't even want to say aggressive, but you're just more assertive?
Wait, what's the question? I'm sorry.
So it was just talking about like if people could take what they dish, would the world move a lot smoother? So Meech was just talking about it, his lens from a intimate relationship kind of like standpoint. What connected in that moment to me was that if he didn't assert himself like that, how would he have been viewed then as like a man? You know, because that's like the constant thing that
Kinda
you see
ties back
sometimes
to, like, your
in
first
media.
question.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like when you see what is put in your face all the time about like what it is to be a man, you'll see those things. You know what I'm saying? And now if he didn't do that, well, would he still be considered a man in that moment?
I mean,
But we don't got to go deep into it. But there was just something that hit for me.
Like the truth is, the media like, sorry, not the media, but like he'll be eating up, like, you know, like as a man, like, oh, like you're not supposed to be feeling this type of way, you're not supposed to be saying these kind of things. Like that's just but that's just the reality, though. That's the reality. No, don't get it wrong.
I'm a human being. I am a human being with emotions. Why not speak on how I feel?
So now this ties into the next one, right? Because it sets in beautifully, right? And so I also want to share this with everybody, right? Like I'm very much so like a deep thinker, overthinker, you know, and over communicator, all these things. So if you see me,
don't sound like traits of a woman. If
you see me like putting my head down, you know what I'm saying, it's because my little amazing book over here and stuff like that. And so the next thing I wanted to read to y'all was, do you feel the world has pressured you to be something you're not? Or matter of fact, I'll say it like this. Do you feel the world has ever pressured you to be something you're not? Or have you remained true to who you are?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Nah.
Here we go.
Like, so growing up, even when I was younger, I was always told, yo, you big. You built, you know what I mean? Like, they wasn't trying to always downplay me and call me fat, but like they would always say that I'm big. And with them always saying that I'm big, the next sentence that they would say is, do you play football? You should play football. Why are you not playing football? Yo, you would be great at playing football. And it's like, it played a factor as I got older, because mind you, I'm still big, I've always been big. But when I was a kid, I was a chubby boy. And, like, hearing that from when I was young, it got me to the mindset, like, yo, like, when I get older or, you know what I mean, when I get to middle school or high school, like, I got to play football. And, like, I've carried that mindset in my head from when I was little all the way until I got to high school. It was, like, freshman year, as soon as I came in the building, I'm like, all right, who do I have to speak to be on the football team? Like, again, like, I didn't know too much about football. I was like, I want to play football, and I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do it. But again, I was very heavily influenced from little to be like, yo, you really should play football. Like, I could see you doing that.
And Lil Meech just wanted to be a photographer, you know? That's all he ever wanted to do.
Lie. That is so interesting because that was the same thing for me. So, like, growing up, if nobody really knows this, now you do. I'm half Puerto Rican, half black. And so
I never knew what your other mix was.
so like growing up as a kid, I always got the same thing. Always got the same thing. I hate people. But I got always the, do you play baseball? So constantly,
that's new.
Everybody would always be like, yo, you play baseball? Yo, you should play baseball. Da, da, da. And I was like, no, I actually play basketball. Like that's what I enjoy. Like I enjoy playing basketball. Like I'm not a baseball player.
Now that you
but that's what most people would assume when they look at me immediately. They're like, yeah,
he does have a baseball build. You do have
So but baseball really, I played baseball, but it really wasn't my thing. Like basketball was really more where my passion was. Still is my passion.
You're not that nice.
He can't guard me though, but nonetheless,
I'm not a basketball player. I grew up in Nigeria. But by nature, I'm a football player.
Look at football player.
Soccer. I'm not talking about American football. I'm talking about actual football. The one you play with your foot. My bad there.
But I
Continue.
would continue to say, like, I say yes just like Meech, because I don't know what happened, man, but I would say, like, during the pandemic, or even like pre-pandemic, the world went into this weird financial shift of, like, everybody had to be an entrepreneur. Everybody had to get rich fast. And then the pandemic hit, and then everybody started getting into these, like, weird, crazed movements of, like, either you were into stocks, or you were into the foreign exchange marketing as well, or, like, you were into wanting to build your own businesses and stuff like that. And I was like, I felt so pressured at that point of, like, dang, like, I gotta make money. Like, I feel like I'm getting left behind. Like, there's all this money that everybody my age or younger
that's what
is getting, and I was just getting anxiety. So next minute, I'm like, I felt like I had to hop on board with what was happening. So I did the foreign exchange market movement, the Forex movement at one point in time, and
we don't have to dive into this.
But
we don't want to offend anybody.
But I look at
it
I look at it on the flip side of, in those moments, just to give a little bit of positive takeaway, it did expose me to certain things financially that I was able to learn more about.
Right.
And I took those positive takeaways that, okay, the foreign exchange market ain't really for me. You know, I don't really like charts and all that type of stuff, but I appreciated the value in the sense of, like, okay, if I was interested in this is how I go about it. This is how I get money, all these types of things. Do I still have stocks in certain things? Absolutely. Because I know what is more, what works for me and what doesn't. You know what I'm saying? But, so yeah, I definitely, I agree with Meech. Yes.
Before I move on, read, just say the question again.
So, do you feel the world has ever pressured you to be something you're not, or have you remained true to who you are?
All right. I just wanted him to say it again, so, like, you know, if you give the answer, and I want you guys to also think about that question for yourself, cause, you know, it matters, and like I said, it all ties back to kind of, like, you know, what we're trying to talk about today, and yeah, I think to an extent, hold on now, I think to an extent the answer is going to be yes for most people, but for me as well, especially when you're younger, the world does pressure you to do a whole bunch of things, and even to this day, you see a whole bunch of people. You know, you go on TikTok and they're like, if you do this, you know, you can be making X amount of dollars, you can be making this much money. And I think from the very beginning of all those things, I've always known that I'm just too lazy to do any of that stuff. I'm just too lazy to do any of that stuff. So I've always understood what I liked and enjoyed doing.
There we go.
And it's always been something that would allow me to express my creativity. Doesn't really matter what it is. Doesn't matter if, you know, it could be acting, it could be drawing or designing, whatever it was. I always knew that if I was able to express my creativity, that's the path I wanted to go. So all that Forex stuff, when it was happening, I had zero interest in it. Like, and that's just one thing. Like, there's a bunch of other things that is going on that I just knew off rip, like, I'm not doing this. I know for a fact I ain't doing this. Right? Because I know that when it comes to photography, for example, doesn't matter how tedious that work is, doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to do it for photography. I know that that's my line of work. That's what I enjoy doing. I'm expressing my creativity when I'm taking pictures, when I'm editing, if I'm editing videos and things like that. So knowing that very earlier on, because I used to draw when I was younger, I never got into, you know, doing it to be great at it, but I've always understood that, and seeing how the only thing that I would say influenced me is when people tell me, like, hey, you know, you're good at taking pictures on the phone, maybe try taking photos as a photographer. I've always been decent at picking and choosing what I allow to influence me in a sense.
And I'll say this much, I'm not taking no shots when I say
take it.
People that are into stocks, into the foreign exchange market, all that type of stuff. What's for you is for you. Like, what you enjoy and what you appreciate, you know what I'm saying? Do your thing. I don't want to steer anybody in the wrongest of ways or make it seem as though, like, that's not a positive thing to do. Because certain people actually found their niche in doing
good.
That type of stuff.
Yes.
Like, I've seen people that had no purpose, had no drive, but yeah, it's just not for everybody. And that was one thing I recognized for me. And so I had to stay true to me. And I was like, I enjoy motivation. I enjoy inspiration. I enjoy creative content where I can talk about experiences, whether it be of my own or that I watched others go through, that really sparked an interest in me to really like want to highlight and really help people push through. That was me. That was my lane. And so, and at the end of the day, nobody should ever feel as though like you have to stick to your lane. You have to stick boxed in. Like, explore yourself, learn what you love doing by all means. And so, I'm gonna land with this, fellas. What are some takeaways that y'all feel as though y'all got from, this conversation or this topic? Or
you have to be able to think about what you want, think about where you're going, think about who you are, think about what your background is, think about what you're good at, think about what you want directly for yourself, not what people want for you, but what you want for yourself. Take that and let that guide who and what you allow to influence you. Because in the end, I think we're all influenced by somebody or someone or something. But what's important is picking and choosing what it is that you're letting do those things for you. So make sure, just because the fast money is over here, don't let that dictate what you want to do, because that's gonna get old, right? What do you enjoy doing? What are the things you want to be good at? What are the things you want to get better at? And then find the outlets and find the sources and the people that would make you kind of like go towards that, right? And give you the right information and things like that. So it always starts from within. It always starts from yourself, ultimately. If you're looking for answers like that from other people, it's going to be hard for you to get it. It's possible, but it's going to be very hard. So that's my biggest takeaway overall.
I would always just say there's nothing wrong with trying what somebody tells you you should be good at or you should think of doing. There's nothing wrong with just taking the initiative to just step out of your element, to just try what somebody is telling you. But at the end of the day, know what's best for you and move accordingly for that.
Okay.
I would say for myself, some of my takeaways with this conversation is you have to be able to decipher and compartmentalize, like, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, or what you like or what you dislike from the things that you're exposed to. Because if you fully absorb everything that you're exposed to and you're like, okay, this is me, and this is also me, and what this person said about me is also me, you're gonna be in a constant space of like confusion and conflicted about who you are and who you have to be. When at the end of the day, you are the deciding factor of who you are and who you want to be in this life. And so whatever it is, so that are your passions or your goals or how you want to dress, like the list can go on of like who you want to be. And so really take the time out, like Yemi said, and like Meech was saying, just, take everything with a grain of salt, but also at the same time, really explore who you are, reflect and understand yourself. And then from there, you'll be able to put yourself in more of those consistent spaces that you do enjoy and that you do want to learn more about now that you know more about yourself. And so, yeah.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we got for y'all today. But, once again, biggest takeaway, just understand who you are. Don't lie to yourself. And I'll let him do his little...
Yeah. You know how it goes. You know how we do it. And so, beautiful people, be on the lookout for this episode. You know what I'm saying? Click the link in the bio. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the SoundCloud. Subscribe to the Spotify, to the Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. I'm also trying to work on like bigger and other things as well in terms of coming soon, potentially a website where everything can be really like just found on. So a lot of big things, beautiful people, a lot of big things. And also like we really want to encourage people to like ask questions. So like, I know for all of us way in advance, probably now for episodes going forward, we're going to start asking more polls. We're going to start asking you guys your thoughts on these things, because we would definitely love to have those, like, either whether you want to call them informative questions or just controversial questions, whatever, just on the show and really highlight the interesting things that you guys are all thinking as well, and so yeah, beautiful people, as always, let's be good, let's be great, let's be better. Just think about it, just talk about it, and as always, let's be about it.
Stop being weird to me.